What's up, fellas? Welcome to Reforming Manhood. This is my video blog on talking life from a Christian male perspective. So feel free to comment, to talk with me. Let's make it a conversation. Today I want to continue our conversation from earlier in the week on fighting passivity. I got some pushback. I like that. Bring it on. I like that. Some guys pushing back and saying there's an ugly side to fighting passivity, and you know what? They're right. We as men can push back too hard. It's a thing. But let me start with defining the terms. When I say fighting passivity, I mean to be passive is the act of doing nothing. It's the non-verb verb. He was passive. Passive is nothing. You're doing nothing when you're being passive. And so that's what I'm saying we need to fight against. We talked earlier in the week about Adam was passive as his wife Eve sinned and brought sin into the world. And he was right there, and he's just as responsible now because he could have spoken up. And so sin was brought into the world by Adam's passivity as much as it was by Eve's action. So we want to fight passivity. Why do I say that? James chapter 4 says, "He who knows the good he ought do, but doesn't do it, sins." We put that in the MIV, the Mike International Version of the Bible, says, "He who is passive sins." He who knows the good he ought do, but doesn't do it, that's passive, sins. So now being passive is no longer a matter of personality. It's no matter a part of personal preference. Those things don't play a role anymore because we're told to be holy as God is holy. And our holiness is acting like God. And this is sin. Sin, being passive is now considered sin. So we have to act. We have to act. But here's the thing, guys. When we act, we don't want to be dumb. You know, we as men, we can push back too hard. We can turn into bullies and be too aggressive in our pushback, and that gets us nowhere. It gets us no win, no results, and we want to win. Or win at this thing called life, and win at being a real Christian man. So let me give you an example. This is a classic Mike Watt fail. I fought passivity, but I did it wrong, and I failed. And so I want you guys to say, hey, learn from my mistakes. You got to rewind back in time. I was Mike Watt. I was a freshman in high school. I'd like to call myself Micro Watt because that's clever. Michael, my name is Michael. Micro Watt. It's an easy flow, but the bullies at my school were not all that clever, and so I never really was called Micro Watt. But I was tiny. I'm talking not even 5 feet tall, not even 100 pounds. Tiny. And anyways, I was involved in sports. My dad required it, just about required it anyways. But I walked in the locker room, and there was a junior or senior leaning over a freshman friend of mine. And he was leaning over him, and best I could tell, my buddy was being bullied. I mean, he was pushing him in the back of the head and just kind of pie-facing him, and I wasn't going to stand for this. So I didn't. So what I did is I stood on the bench and walked over to this bully. And that's the only way I could see him eye to eye was by standing on the bench. That's how small I was. But I looked him in the eye and I said, "You need to back off before I have to do something about this." 5 foot tall, not even 100 pounds. This dude laughed at me. And I don't blame him. Why wouldn't he? First of all, I didn't even know the situation, right? But this dude laughed, and when he laughed, his mouth went wide and his head went back. And guys, you know that dark place in all of us where we think awful, violent things. That part of me came alive that day, and I thought, what if I just reached in his mouth and I did the old double fish hook? I don't know if I invented it or if I had seen it somewhere. I'd seen a fish hook, but a double fish hook, I think I could do that. So I did. I fought passivity. I acted. And I reached in his mouth, and I double fish hooked this guy. He didn't like this. He started hitting me. Whappo, whappo. I just fish hooked harder. Didn't take a lot of strength to control the man. He stopped. He stopped pretty quick. I just pulled. I could feel skin stretching and tearing. It was really gross. But he stopped. And I said, "You need to apologize to my buddy." He said, "Oh, no, sorry." I said, "Okay." I told my buddy, "Hey, you need to get out of here." My buddy left. Then I realized I'm stuck in a room with my finger in the monster's mouth. My hand's caught in the monster's mouth, you know? And so it was dumb. I didn't have a plan. Didn't have a win. I just acted. So then I just kind of tried to appeal to the guy's, I don't know, virtues. And I was just like, all right, so I'm going to take my hands out of my mouth and you're not going to touch me, right? He said, no. Give me your word? Yeah. And I took my hands out of his mouth, and then the guy proceeded to beat me down. And to be honest, it was a pretty gracious beat down. The guy was really quite kind in his beating down of me. I deserved worse than he gave me, and he was pretty kind. And so I just held up, took a couple kicks, and it was fine. Moved on. But here's the thing. It was dumb. It was so dumb. There was no win in mind. I wasn't, and everybody lost. I lost. I took a beating. The bully lost because his mouth was tore up and got humiliated by a little dude. And even my buddy got humiliated. He lost too. He had a tiny guy sticking up for him. He was perfectly happy taking the slight little bullying that was going on. So it was a lose all the way around. I fought passivity, but that was a terrible way of doing it. And the results sure spoke for themselves. I got nothing accomplished. So guys, in fighting passivity, I would suggest, start with a win in mind. Seek some counsel when you can. Talk to wiser guys who've been down the road, just a few steps further than you. It doesn't have to be someone who's already arrived, but just maybe they're just a little bit further down the road than you. So reach out to them, but still fight passivity, but do it in a right way that honors God and honors men, because God made men. All right, guys. Thank y'all. This has been Mike Watt. I'm the Lucha Preacher, and this has been Reforming Manhood. We'll see y'all next time.